My girlfriend went into surgery. She never came out. And when I got home that night, it was like she had never existed at all. Sistine was the love of my life, funny, sharp, impossible to bullshit. She could crochet an entire scarf in an evening and recite a full monologue from The Office in the same breath. She could fix a flat tire and call me an idiot for not knowing how, all in one motion. I loved her snort laugh. I loved the way she rested her head on my shoulder. I miss her every single day. It happened on a holiday weekend. I don't even remember which one anymore, just the red, white, and blue wreath still hanging on our front door, and how packed the ER was when I brought her in. Sistine was 32 weeks pregnant. She had endometriosis, which already made the pregnancy high risk. That morning, she said she wasn't feeling well, and after some arguing, she agreed to let me drive her in. She refused an ambulance, obviously. She never did anything she hadn't decided on herself first. In the car, I kept asking how she was feeling, rating her pain on a scale of 1 to 10. She cut me off halfway through. "Dakota, I love you, but if you keep talking, you will lose the ability to ever father a child again." I shut up and drove. I glanced at the car seat in the back and hoped we wouldn't need it yet. We waited 2 hours in an exam room before anyone came. Sistine complained I was breathing too loud, that the hospital smell was making her sick, that she should have brought her crochet hooks. Every complaint was just her way of holding herself together. When a team finally came to check her vitals, she fidgeted with her red yarn ring until it started to fray, then reached out for my hand. "Dee, can you get me some water?" I squeezed her hand and went looking for a vending machine down the hall. That's when I heard it, codes being called, yelling, the screech of gurney wheels and a crash cart flying past. I turned just in time to see Sistine being wheeled away from me, already halfway down the corridor. I ran after her. An orderly caught me by the chest before I could get close. "Sir, you can't go back there." I asked where they were taking her. He rattled off medical jargon, decels, hemorrhaging words that all added up to the same terrifying conclusion. The woman I loved and our unborn child were in danger, and there was nothing I could do but sit in a waiting room corner between a crying baby and a muted soap opera and wait. Sistine and I had met a little over a year before that day. She helped me pick out charcoal pencils at a craft store in exchange for my number. Within weeks, her toothbrush and crochet hooks had migrated into my apartment. Soon after, my whole place was covered in granny squares and half-finished paint-and-sip canvases and glitter glue I complained about constantly and would give anything to see again. I told her I loved her a month in, during a commercial break on a Scrubs rerun. She just smiled and said she figured as much. Around our 6-month anniversary, she told me she was pregnant while passing the salt at dinner, not quite meeting my eyes, her face bright red. "Please don't run," she begged. "Please don't leave me." I cut a length of her favorite red yarn and tied it around her finger. "Call it an engagement ring," I told her. She laughed through her tears and called me cheap, then cut a piece for my own finger so, in her words, no one would get any ideas. That yarn ring was still on my hand, 3 hours into the waiting room, as I counted ceiling tiles and paced a groove into the carpet. Finally, I approached the front desk and asked for an update. The older nurse smiled warmly and typed Sistine's name into her system. Her expression changed. "I'm sorry, my love, I don't see her in our system." I asked what that meant. Was she out of surgery, was she? "No, honey, her name isn't in here at all. Have a seat. Let me call up to the surgical floor just in case she got missed somehow." I sat and watched her make call after call. I watched her brow furrow deeper each time. Sistine wasn't in the operating room, she wasn't in recovery, she wasn't being prepped for anything. She wasn't in the morgue. She simply wasn't anywhere. I walked out of that hospital like I'd been shot. I don't remember most of the walk to my car. I sat in the driver's seat with my head in my hands for a long time before I noticed the little black pine tree hanging from my wiper switch. Sistine hated black ice air fresheners, called it a guy scent that didn't smell like anything at all. I hadn't used one in over a year. I'd thrown them all out the moment they started making her nauseous during the pregnancy. But there it was, swinging gently from the mirror. I told myself I must have left it there by accident, sometime before I met her. That had to be it. On the drive home, I caught headlights riding too close behind me and checked my rear view to get a look at the driver. Instead, I found my own backseat completely empty. I slammed the brakes so hard the car behind me nearly rear-ended me, horn blaring as I pulled over and climbed into the back myself. Nothing, just fast food wrappers and an ice scraper. No car seat, the one I'd spent an entire weekend installing, hands stained with grease for days afterward. Gone like it had never been bolted in at all. I sped the rest of the way home, and the moment I stepped through my front door, my knees buckled and I hit the floor. The walls were bare. No paint-by-numberses, no diamond art, nothing but blank drywall where 100 little projects used to hang. My sketchbook sat empty on the shelf. My closet held no glitter, no lace, nothing of hers at all, just my own clothes, hanging in perfectly ordinary, undisturbed rows. I dragged myself down the hall to the nursery. We'd spent weeks on that room. Soft blue walls, white sponge-painted clouds on the ceiling, hours of research into cribs and changing tables, actual arguments about whether the rocking chair belonged by the window or the door. It was gone, not empty, reverted, back to being the home office it had been before her, exactly the way it looked the day I signed the lease. A desk, a chair, a laptop I didn't remember buying. I slid down the wall until I hit the floor, staring at the yarn ring still tied around my finger, the only proof I had that any of it had ever been real. I tried calling her family. Every contact was gone from my phone. Every photo of her gone. The framed ultrasound picture that used to sit on my desk at work, gone, replaced with nothing, like the space itself had simply forgotten it was ever occupied. I can't have a funeral. There's nothing to bury, and there's no one left in this world who remembers her enough to grieve alongside me. Every trace of Sistine and of our daughter has been erased so completely that I'm the only evidence either of them ever existed. So I'm doing the only thing left that I can do. I'm eulogizing them here now to strangers on the internet, because there's no one else who will listen and no one else who would even understand what I lost. Sistine was the love of my life. I have not felt anything close to joy since the moment she disappeared down that hospital corridor. I still wear the yarn ring. It's frayed and faded now, barely holding together on my finger. I don't plan on ever taking it off. Some nights when the apartment is quiet enough, I swear I can still smell a hint of vanilla in the hallway, or feel the faint pressure of a head resting against my shoulder that isn't there anymore. I don't know if that's grief playing tricks on me or something else entirely, some small piece of her still holding on the same way I am. I just know that whatever took her didn't just take a person. It took an entire life we were supposed to have together, and it left me standing in the wreckage of a home that no longer remembers either of them was ever here.